Here's a short video on how to do the mileage exercise, the week 7 homework. So the first thing is to calculate the daily miles. Always start a formula with an equal sign. In this case, it's the odometer end minus the odometer start. That's 81 miles for the first one. I can use the copy handle here. Notice my cursor changing to the plus sign. And all I need to do to bring that down is to double click on that copy handle, which is what that little square at the bottom right corner of your cell is. Double click and it'll bring the whole thing down for you, copy it down. And you'll notice all the way through here that that's now C4, B4, C5, B5, C6, B6. So it changed it and incremented one time. That's using relative addressing. Now the expenses are a little bit different. You need to use absolutes here. So I'm going to start with an equal sign, click on my daily miles, times, and rather than putting in 0.56 or typing in C26, I'm going to click on C26. Now the C26 I'm going to enter, and that gives me the right miles for that cell. If I were to try copying that down though, I'll come over and get on my copy handle again, double click. Didn't quite work, and why not? Well, if we look here, it's D3 times C26. That's right, D3 times C26. I look at my next one, it's D4, which is right, times C27. So both of them move down once, which is relative. And the same thing for the next one, D5 times C28, and so on. So what I need to do is I need to freeze this C26 reference in place so it doesn't move relatively every time I copy it down. The way you do that is click next to the C26, and on a PC you would enter F4 or possibly press the FN key and then F4. You might have to do that, and then press enter. Now you'll notice the dollar signs there. It is an absolute reference. You can Google that to find out how to do that on a Mac if you have a Mac, or you can just enter the dollar signs in. I mean, you can just do that. Once I've done that, I can just come to my copy handle and double click, and the whole thing just rolls right down very nicely and neatly. To get my sums at the bottom, I'll just highlight the two rows I want sums for, and I can come to Home, get my auto sum, click on Sum, and it'll sum them up for me. And I can make this a dollar reference by just going to Home and clicking on the dollar reference. That did it for me. Down at the bottom here, they're wanting you to use formulas to calculate these number of travel days, minimum miles, maximum miles, and average miles. So the way to do that, you can, well, there's several ways to do that. One way you can do that is to go to Formulas, More Functions, try Statistical, and here's Count. I have a few people tried to use days. Count works better. And Count, and then you just highlight the column you want counted. I want to count those. How many of those were there? 15. And I can do the same thing for minimum miles. I can come up to my formulas, go to statistical again, scroll down to min, highlight the miles column here, and click. And it'll give me a minimum. You'd use the max formula for here and the average for here. So now, if I were to change my cost per mile, which they have you do later in the exercise, to say 58 cents, watch what happens to all my expenses. Slam, they all go automatically change to the new amounts, which is what you want to have. Just everything should change automatically when you make a little change down here. So May and June are pretty much the same exercises. You're going to be doing the same thing all the way through. You can actually come back and you can copy these two formulas here. I'm going to copy those, take it to May, come to the top, paste those in. So you notice those formulas come in just fine. I can take both of those now, copy them down. And I would do the same thing for counts and so on. I could do the same thing for the sums as well. Copy the formulas here, come to May, and paste them in. And you'll notice this pound signs. That just means the number's too big to fit in that field. And you can fix that by either stretching this out. Notice I'm between the E and the F there. Or you can just double click between the E and the F, and it'll automatically resize it correctly. Now I'll copy these again. I'm going to copy these formulas, copy, take it to June, put it in June, copy all those down to the bottom, and this time it's just as easy to just get another sum as copying anything. I'll get that. And finally, we're going to come to our summary sheet for the whole thing. Now here, almost everyone got this wrong. You don't want to type in the numbers or anything like that. You have the numbers on the other sheet. So all you need to do is press equals, go back to April, and click on the total miles there, and then press enter. So you'll notice here in my formula it says equal, go to the April worksheet and use D18. Now I can even copy that over to the next one, and it's going to use relative addressing again. Notice it moved it from the D to the E, so it actually worked that way. I can come to my May worksheet now, do the same thing. Come to May. Actually, I want to put my equal sign in first, then come to May, click on the miles, total miles, press enter, come to June, equals, come to the June worksheet, click on the total miles, press, and these two I can just copy over. So that's the basic idea of how to do that worksheet. You need to use absolutes here, the dollar signs around it, and that just makes it a whole lot easier. If you were to try to sort this worksheet and you hadn't used the absolutes like that, you had typed in 0.56 or you had put in equals C26, it's very likely when I tried to sort this it would blow up. So not a good idea. Down here you want to use formulas like count, min, max, and average. And finally, on the last page here, you can reference the previous worksheets by just putting an equal sign, going back to those worksheets, and then clicking on the cell you want brought forward here. So that's how to do this particular exercise.